Loud. Okay. Tiziana and Anna, is there anything you need from us before you get started?
Sorry, Kelly, can you repeat, please?
Is there
No,
anything you need before we get started?
no,
No.
No?
we can
Okay.
start
Okay, great.
when you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So, um, we'll manage the presentation in combination with Annalisa Di Sabato, who is a colleague of mine. Hi, everyone. So to facilitate the presentation, so we share our screen. Okay, do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So what we will show you is JCricket, as you kindly mentioned. JCricket is the entity editor that was born within the Chef family community as the data curation editor. It works starting from the cluster knowledge base that is produced through clusterization entity resolution process, so by machine. And because the machine can do some errors in creating entities starting from authority and bibliographic records, and JCricket can be used to correct the data and can be used also to create new entities, and so to improve the quality of your work. JCricket can be used in a local environment. So in case the library decided to work in a linked open data environment alone as its own system. So in this case, the library is configured with its own tenant as a separate tenant with its own cluster knowledge base, but is connected to other tenants in the Chef family to take advantage of URIs of data published by other libraries, and in the meantime can collaborate and use or reuse data from external sources such as Library of Congress, VIAF, ISNI, Wikidata, and so on. But JCricket has a particularly nature and was born specifically to manage data in a shared environment, so in a network, in a consortia, to manage a common catalog coming from managed by different libraries with different mechanisms. Some of them will be shown in this demo and other will be shown in other occasion. So we can start. As you are seeing, and please, Carly, stop me in case you have some question, because we have the frame of JCricket and we don't see you, the screen with your face. So in case, please stop me and we can stop answer your question. To work with JCricket, the cataloger starts from the same portal that is used by an end user. So in this case, you can start with in advanced search, for example, so that we can show something more, or we can search for Oscar Wilde, a simple search, yes, in this case, Oscar Wilde. Okay, and the system retrieves this term in different entities. So in this case, you have all the results, so 3 different results. We are using a test environment, so with a few records, and for this reason we have few results. In this case, we have people and organizations or original works. All these results in a certain way are related to this query, so to wild. We can see, for example, in this case, the original work, and for original work we mean the opus, the shared VD opus, that is an added entity, an extension thought by the shared community to the bib frame ontology. So the class opus is represent the original work from which other bib frame work derive. And so we have, in this case, the original work, but if you see we have a simple feature that are devoted to, that are usable by an end user, so a researcher, a student, so not something that is usable by a cataloger. You can see the publication, for example, and also in this case, the description and more options show me only what is available for an end user. But from this feature, from this page, I can log in. And in this case, I logged in with a specific user account created for a PCC user. And the scenario is completely different, not completely, but is a bit different, because as you can see, we have the publication linked to the opus, so to the original works, but we also have the bib frameworks, that of course is a concept not easy to transfer to an end user, and for end user we use a publication that put together the concept of work and of instance. But when you log in as a cataloger, these concepts are more clear, and so the user interface shows you the different entities. So in this case, we have 2 bib frameworks. One is in English and the other one is in Italian for the picture of Dorian Gray. And each work has its own publication that is linked to the same original work. Yes, now we want to show how to create something, because in this case you can edit something that is already existent, but you can also create from scratch something. In this case, to simplify the demo and to avoid to lose time, we can start from an original work that is already existent, and we can edit, we can search for the bib framework in Italian, and we can create a new instance, a new publication, so a new instance for this Italian work. This is the screen that is related to the work. To the opus. And so starting from this opus, we need to create the hierarchy. So we can create a new bib framework linked to this opus. So remember that the opus is something like the work in IFLA LRM, and the work in this case is something like the expression in IFLA LRM. And this make possible also to create a bridge between BibFrame and IFLA LRM. So now we are creating a new work, an Italian work, linked to the same opus, so to the same original work. And what Annalisa is doing is creating concretely the relationship between the opus and the work in Italian. Okay. And to complete the hierarchy, we will create an instance. We maintain opened the three windows, three sections of the screen, but you can close, of course, after we will show you this, just to maintain, to give you a clear idea about the hierarchy that we are creating. And so we are creating a new instance that is linked to the Italian work, that is linked to the original work, the importance of being earnest. So Annalisa is creating the instance and is creating specifically the relationship between this instance and the work. So the system gives you some mechanism to create the link. And so now that the hierarchy is created, you can close something so that you have more space to work and you can stay focused on something. So what we are doing now is selecting the properties that are specifically related to the entity we are creating. So the list of properties are specifically for this kind of entity that is the instance. Of course, each entity has its own properties that can be declined as a relationship or an attribute, but coming from BibFrame ontology, of course. And you have all options to create and to create something that is completely new. I let Annalisa type something so that you can have the idea about how you can create this kind of entity. Okay. We can add a contributor. Yes. Now we close also the work because the hierarchy is completed, so we don't need to maintain open the screen for the work. Now we know that this new instance is created because the hierarchy is completed, and we can continue with creating or linking, creating a relationship with the contributor. In this case, we already have the main agent that is the creator, because we started by with an opus, so with an original work that already have an agent as a creator, and we need to create something that doesn't exist yet in the cluster knowledge base. So in this case, if I don't find something, I can create from scratch the new entity and defining this contributor, in this case, Carlo Pellegrini, who is an illustrator. And while I work with the instance, I can also create this agent with some properties that are related to the agent. So the birth date, in this case, the place of birth and the place of death, and any other property that is listed as an agent property.
So
Okay.
I create the
Yes, and
relationship.
now Annalisa has created the agent who didn't exist before, and now she created the relationship with this feature to copy the URI that is applied in real time to this new agent. And now that the relationship is done, she can close the screen for the agent and continue if is the case to work on the instance. Just to give you a better idea, in this section of overview, you have all the properties as a relationship or as attributes that are already present in the entity screen, in the entity record, or in this case, you can add additional properties. And as I mentioned, all are related to this kind of entity. So now you can close. And I take the occasion also to say something about the data type, the kind of data that you can create in JCricket when you work on an entity. We have three different kinds of data. One is the relationship, the relation. So you have an entity, and as Annalisa has shown before, you can search in the cluster knowledge base an entity that already exists. It could be another work, an instance, an agent, a place, all kind of entities that BibFrame consider for the data. And in this case, you can search and you can select, or you can create a new entity and create a relationship. The second type of data is the controlled vocabulary. So in this case, for example, we have the career type, and see that each vocabulary has each value in the vocabulary has its own URI, is the share URI, but in the meantime is linked in the cluster knowledge base, is related to an official URI that is, in this case, the Library of Congress URI. And in this screen, you can also see the kind of data type and if it's a mono or a multi-value.
You explain that.
But that I will explain after. And the third one kind of data is the literal property. So for example, you can have a note, or you can have a dimension in this case, or for example, a biography note, or something that you like. This is a literal property, and so no relationship and no URI for this kind of information.
And this is our
And yes, and this is the result. Very interesting is the integration between, as I mentioned before, JCricket as a tool that the cataloger can use to update, correct, improve the quality, or create something from scratch, and the final result on the portal. So in real time, as you can see, you can create in the portal and publish in the portal the new entity linked to the whole hierarchy. And so this is the result of what Annalisa has done. Something more? No.
We can show the
Yes.
solution activity.
Yes, I will show you something different, a different kind of, sorry.
Not here.
Okay, no, okay. We can continue. We like to show you a different kind of entity that we apply, for example, to provision activity, and that we apply to other kind of entity that is composed by different sub-entities, such as the string, the subject with the concept. But now I have an example for you that is the provision activity. So the provision activity, as libframe suggests is an entity, so with its URI, that is composed by this is the URI for the provision activity as group, that is composed by different entities. So specifically for provision activity, you have the publication place, so London in this case, the publisher, that is an agent, any kind of agent, Mondadori, and the year of publication, 1980. And in this case, so the provision activity is the combination of these three different entities, but in the meantime, you have a different area where you can define the publication statement strings to respect the mandate of RDA, take what you see in some cases. So you can have London as an entity, so as a cluster, Mondadori as a cluster with a specific URI, and this cluster can contain different forms of Mondadori name, but in the publication statement strings, if you like and if you need, this is not a mandatory set of information, you can transcribe what you see on your publication. So maintaining both the version as a cluster, but also as a cluster that combined other clusters, but also as a string. And this is a very complicated mechanism that make possible to create a kind of groups of entities. Okay, so in this case, in the public, and this is also, I don't have now an example in this test environment for a subject, but the subject is something similar. So you have the subject as a string, but the string is composed by different concepts. Of course, each concept has its own nature, so a geographic, a topic, and so on. And you can compose maintaining one URI for the whole string and specific URI and identifier for each part of the string, so each part, each concept. So the last thing before giving you a brief demo about advanced features such as the merge of entities is just to explain you how JCricket is powerful in a shared environment. So for example, in case more than one library work together on the same environment. This is the example of John Grisham. This is an agent. And as you can see in the name area, in the name text area, we have different formulation of the same name. And taking consideration that this mechanism is possible for any kind of information in JCricket. So you can do this, what we are showing with a name, with any kind of property of attributes or relationship. So anything can be managed in this way. So what we are showing here is the example of a name. We consider the name, of course, as a mono value field because at the end you have to choose something that can be shown to an end user. And how we manage this? See here, we have two rows in English, so Grisham John and Grisham John Ray. We have one string in Italian, this is just an example, Giovanni Grisham, and we have one row in Japanese and one row in Slovenian. And see this small icon that define, this is the is leader feature that define for each language which is the form that you prefer. And so in this case, to show in the portal. So for example, in this case, we have the form John Grisham for English, but we also have as his leader Giovanni Grisham in case we have the browser in Italian. So we try to show you something. So Grisham John, in this case we have Grisham John because our browser is set in English, but if I select another one, the variant form for Italian, so in this case Grisham Giovanni, is automatically shown, and also other information coming from, in this case, from Wikipedia or from vocabularies are presented in the different language. And this makes possible that an end user using a different scripts, in this case we have configured only 4 languages, but you can have a long list of languages and scripts. And so the user can choose and see the difference in case you have this kind of information. Okay, and the last one, this is for mono value attributes. So where you need to choose one form to be shown in the portal. Okay, that can be shown in the portal, and consider that the mono value is one value for each language or for each script. But you also have a multi-value. This is the example of, for example, an occupation, where, as you can see, you have the is leader set for different kind of fields, because in case of, for example, occupation, you need to show more than one value in the portal. So these features make you possible also to present something to your end user, depending by the language, the cultural area he or she is using the portal, and many other features. The last one that I want to show you before demo something about the merge is the
specific property.
Yes. Is the property to create a link with external source. I'm sorry because this feature is not completed in this environment, but we can show you the same as. So in this case, we search for John Grisham in VF, and so what happened that this URI also called the picture from Wikibase or Wikidata, and so using JCricket you can enrich your information and you can have more external links. So now the VF record appears, and you can create external links to this to this entity, and you can do this, of course, with more than one source, any kind of source, and more different kind of sources for different kind of data. The last feature before show you something about the integration with external sources is something that is related to extended and advanced feature. One of these is the merge operation. Just a parenthesis to explain better. You can have more than one user access to JCricket. So a basic user that is a cataloger who can manage information and who can manage the entity, can add the fields, can create something more, and an advanced user who is abilitato, who has permissions to do something more. And because more can have an impact on the who full cluster knowledge base, so we need an advanced user. This is the case, for example, for merge, for duplicate, or for split feature. Now we show you something about the merge. See here, Annalisa searched for Follet, and the system give us two different results. One is Follet Ken, and one is Follet Kenneth Martin. So the machine or another librarian has done an error in identify the same Ken Follett, that in this case is considered as two different persons, two different people, and so this is an error in the cluster knowledge base. So we can decide to merge these two entities in one, and this is an important feature because consider that linked to, in this case, an agent, but we can do also with any kind of entity. Beyond this entity, we have a lot of other entities linked to, so the work, the instances, and so on. So when I do something like the merge, I need to pay attention, and for this reason, we decided to have this feature, this workflow in at least two steps that we will try to show, because we need to change the user account. So Annalisa, that is logged in as, can you give me as Serena Celicola, decided to merge these two entities. So select this Ken Follett and Kenneth Martin Follett, and click on Add to a new merge list. So now in this session, she has a merge list, and she can continue. She can select other entities and go ahead. But to simplify now, we can do this with these two entities. So she need to choose the destination. What does it mean choosing a destination? Decided which of the two variants, the two entity, is the good entity and which is the discarded entity. So the entity that will remain as a sort of ghost in the cluster knowledge base, but that will not be actionable in a certain way. So she decided that this form of Ken Follett is the destination, so the selected as good entity. So go ahead, the next. Now, the system proposes her the two entities open in two different screens. One is the source and the other is the target entity. And she can decide to move some valid properties that are in the entity that will be validated to move in the entity that will be validated as good. And this mechanism make possible with the row, make possible this to move some properties from the left to the right. And okay, this is just an example. And now she needs to select a reviewer, because this information has a big impact on the cluster knowledge base. So it's important to have the opinion of another cataloger to be sure that the operation is correct. Of course, we also have a workaround, and Annalisa can assign to herself the same feature, but this is a workaround. This is a trick. In a good flow, she she need to ask for a confirmation of this merge feature. So now she's logged in with another librarian. So in this case,
person who has
yes,
asked to do the
sì, Elise Madsen. And so now in this dashboard, see the dashboard, she has the list of requests that she receives from other librarian to do something. And in this list, she finds this suggestion. So suggestion for a merge. She can check the entities, she can check the work that the colleague has done. Consider that this can be done between different libraries and not people that are specifically in the same library. If you are working in a network, in a consortia, so she can ask to Stanford colleague or Cornell or people based in other libraries to confirm. And she can confirm and approve the merge, or she can reject with the motivation. So no, please, this is an error. These are two different persons with the same name, and so I need to reject. Or she can approve in this case, because concretely we have one Ken Follett, and this is we need to obtain in the cluster knowledge base one entity. So the merge, read here, the merge was approved, and all kind of operation is traced in a database, so that you can have a report, you can print, you can control. And this was created by Serena and was approved by Alisa. And now the merge list is done. So now searching again from one to another, from starting from the same search, Chiara Follett, yes. Okay, so as you can see now, it appeared this logo, and this is the entity has been invalidated. So please pay attention, because I spoke about a ghost in the cluster knowledge base. Because for the scope, of course, this is what the cataloger is seeing, is viewing. But you can also avoid that an end user see this entity, invalidated entity. But because it's important to maintain the cluster knowledge base, because in case another library will send a record with Kenneth Martin Follett as author of something, so in an access point, this form that at the origin created the different entity, the cluster knowledge base tool, the entity resolution tool recognizes this form as invalidated and reconcile the record and with the entity in the correct Ken Follett. So this is a very useful mechanism to avoid that when the machine works alone, so with the regular clusterization processes, so entity resolution processes that work with the records coming from different libraries, the same work, the same error is repeated. So maintaining the ghost form in the cluster knowledge base will assure that in the new clusterization process, no any new entity for Ken Follett will be created. What else about the merge? Nothing. Okay. So yes. Okay. No, this is very important. Coming back to the provenance concept, this is very important and useful in case of a network of different libraries. And I want to show you a case. So we are editing. Okay, so see here that we have three different forms of this name, in this case, Oscar Wilde. We have two in English and one in Arabic. And see here in this column, it appears the symbol of the library who created this form. And this is very useful in a cluster, in a network environment, because any library can maintain a variant, a selected different form of something. This is valid for name, for works, as I mentioned, for any kind of entity. And the database maintain trace of different provenances. And the provenance is related to each piece of information. So not only for the name, but any kind of information maintains the provenance information. So the provenance data. And this is very, very useful to assure that even if in a shared environment you select the leader for, in this case, Oscar Wilde and not Oscar Fingal and blah, 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 for end user, but in the meantime, each library can maintain its own form. And this is useful in case, for example, you want to download, you or another library or an end user or a machine want to download the RDF dataset, selecting the library. So please give me only the version provided by Stanford, provided by Library of Congress, provided by Penn, and so on. So remember that each piece of information has this mechanism to register, to report the different provenances. The last thing that we want to show you is the integration with external ILS. What Annalisa will show you now is the integration with Folio. You can close the VF, I suppose. And yes, she's showing that in Folio, the publication in Italian, Il tempo di uccidere, is not present. So we are working in JCricket, but in the meantime, we are logged in as a librarian working with Folio ILS. And consider that what we have done for Folio was already done for Alma, and we are ready to do the same with any other kind of ILS. So Annalisa decided to work in JCricket. So she will consider JCricket as the source of truth for this kind of record. But this is not a mandatory scenario. You can also decide vice versa, to use a Folio as a source of truth. So manage your data using your ILS and finding your data directly in JCricket. Now we will show you the vice versa. So using JCricket as main entity editor, and finding, of course, she doesn't like to repeat the work on Folio, and so maintain integrated and aligned the two environments. JCricket, so the cluster knowledge base with BibFrame entities, and Folio. Consider that Folio is not currently still an entity base. Oh, no, sorry, I prefer to say inventory, that is the app in Folio that is integrated with JCricket, is not an app entity based, but is an app record based. But notice what happened working with the different entities. So she started from the work in Italian, and the work is already linked to an opus that has a main creator, so an author that is in the original work, that is John Grisham. So she edit the work, and now she wants to create an instance. This instance, as we demonstrate a few seconds ago, is not present yet in Folio, and she is creating this instance using JCricket. So, Il tempo di uccidere is the Italian title, and some other attributes and relationship. So, responsibility, for example, John Grisham. Okay. She can add, for example, dimension, just to give you the example, and the edition statement, first edition,
some vocabulary here.
career type.
It's a vocabulary, so
Yes.
volume, suggest.
Volume. Okay. And page, le pagine.
Extension.
Extension. Okay. Okay. So now she has created in JCricket Il tempo di uccidere. This is created from scratch, but in the meantime, and she's linked to a hierarchy. So we have a time to kill as original work by John Grisham with a work in Italian as text, and an instance, the edition, Italian edition, Il tempo di uccidere with these properties. Okay, now we refresh and search Folio. Refresh. Sei collegata con...
Sì, sì. Ah, perso.
E non deve essere
Già segnato.
Ah,
Ok.
deve essere quello con gli anni.
Dai.
Ah, ok. Inventory. Sì. Okay. And this is the instance that is in real time created in Folio. Please pay attention to the instance HRID that is automatically created with the code SF to identify the share family, the source that is a share family linked data, the catalog data that is today, in this time. This is our time now, Rome, and we have the title data, Il tempo di uccidere, and see here that we also have, for example, the personal name, the author, that was taken from the opus, the relationship with the original work, and we have all properties created for the instance, and also the original title, that is the time to kill. So in the meantime, the uniform title, time to kill.
So from the opus.
Yes, yeah, and it comes from the opus, so from the original title. So when the object, the instance, is created in Folio, all important pieces coming from the original work, the framework, and the instance, included the agent, the related agent, are put together, are packaged, and become a JSON file ready to be ingested into Folio. And as I mentioned before, exactly the same was done for Alma. We don't show you now the process because we have 10 minutes left, and we would like let you do some questions if you have. just while we are speaking, just an example. This is an example of instance created in Alma, with starting from this JCricket environment. See here the URI, and this is exactly the same workflow, but in this case is created directly in BibFrame to be ingested in Alma, while in Folio is created automatically in JSON to be ingested in the inventory. So we can stop sharing, and so that you can, in case you have questions, we can answer you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Tiziana and Annalisa. That was wonderful. It covered so much. I see a few questions in the chat, questions and comments. The first from Magda is with respect to the Arabic reference listed in the example for Oscar Wilde. It is showing a different agent. So that might be a split, an opportunity to use the split function.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Great.
In this case, because this is an error done by the fact that we prepared the demo without taking in consideration the right. But this is exactly the case where we can split the entity. Yes,
Great.
it's correct.
Great. And Joanna asks, for quality control in JCricket, is it up to the community to correct errors with the metadata? For example, if someone creates an agent for an author but entered the wrong information, such as misspelling the name or having an incorrect date. And there's an example listed for William Shakespeare, which I'm sure appears many times in the data.
Yes, yes. And because originally JCricket was created for the scope to work together, even if it can be installed in a local situation. But so as perhaps Kelly, you know, we have defined a sort of, we are defining with the CEI working group, Sapienza Entity Identification Working Group, a document to share, to define common policies, common practices to use JCricket in a shared environment, so that librarian can cooperate, starting from a sort of basic rules to work together. Because also in defining, for example, is leader, when you need to choose one value that has to be shown to the end user, of course, you need to define a sort of agreement, which kind of form. So we drafted this document with possible policies, and it's not just policies, but best practices. And any network, any environment, shared environment, can change the best practice and choose for something different. But it's important start from a sort of agreement in choosing the form or in other kind of workflow.
Great, thank you. And Joanna, if there's any follow-up questions you'd like to ask, feel free to unmute or drop them in the chat. It sounds like there's a lot of different configurations that people can have, and there's a lot of flexibility to kind of meet those community agreements. Magda, I see your hand.
Yes, I have a quick question just to follow up about keeping the merged entity for any other future same cases error. So what if there is a new entity has the same form that we merged before? Can the system recognize it, or it will automatically merge it?
Sorry, are you speaking in the automatic process or in JCricket?
I think the JCricket, where you showed us that when you did the merging, you kept the old form for future cases.
Yes, Yes, because if I understanding correctly your question, the first step of the entity creation usually not the regular situation, but usually in most cases happens automatically with entity resolution processes done by machines. And in this case, in automatic processes, the system uses a lot of different algorithms and rules to identify the entity and to combine. But the work that is done using JCricket is higher than the work that is done automatically. And so when you, for example, you merge some entities using JCricket, the entity assumes a different weight in the cluster knowledge base. And this means that with the mechanism of maintaining the ghost entity, so what was used to merge, and with the mechanism of different weights, the next automatic process will take in consideration this and will avoid the creation again of the same bad entity. So
Yes.
something done with JCricket assigns a high weight to a high value in terms of the weight to the entity.
And this will not stop any new entity with the same form of the name that we merged it, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you. Thank
Also
you so much.
because you can, when the cluster knowledge base is performed, when the entity resolution process is performed, you consider that the cluster knowledge base contains the accepted or the chosen form, but a lot of different variants. And the variants form, also including the bad forms, are maintained to simplify the clusterization process, because in the clusterization process, the machine goes to check all variant form. And if is found in the same cluster one variant form that is the same used by the entity is automatically reconciled.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have about 2 minutes left. Are there any other questions?
In case you have future questions, Callie, feel free to send us and we will answer you
Okay,
for any
great.
curiosity.
And if any librarians or library workers here want to follow up with JCricket or Share VDE, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you?
And I think that you can answer about this for the community.
Yes, I can post in the chat later on our email address where you can reach out for any questions or information and so on. We have a lot of resources that we can share to go in depth of the more technical aspects of JCricket and of Share VD and Share Family in general. So typically, we work with our community of members in working groups, as Tiziana already mentioned. Of course, we are also happy to expand this community with new interested institutions. So basically, just get in touch directly with us, with one of us personally, or with our generic email, which I'm going to post in the chat. And I'm also going to post in the chat the reference to our wiki, where you can find information about JCricket, pretty much the same as Tiziana and Annalisa have demoed, but described textually. But maybe Tiziana and Annalisa have been much more specific than what you will find in the wiki, but to have a reminder of the basics, so the wiki is a good starting point.
Great, thank you. I will include that in the wiki notes.
Kali, can I try to answer to Ivan Kalimano question?
Yes.
Because when it is going to be released to the whole community, this is a good question. What we are doing is now working on performance issues, not for JCricket, but to manage big data as a share VD tenant, because in share VD we have a big huge of data. And we are doing a plan that we shared with the libraries, and we hope to be ready by this year, so in autumn or the first month of next winter, to be ready to install the whole lot platform containing JCricket, but we prefer to complete this what we are doing to improve the performances and to make more granular the CKB, so that we will be ready also to have a perfect conversion from BibFrame to Math21, because as you know, this is an issue and this is something that we need to manage. So we don't have still a perfect plan that we will share, I hope soon, but we hope to be ready to run in production our tenants. We have different tenants of different dimension by this year. This is what we are, the plan for which we are working to.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for meeting with us. I know it's quite late in Italy, so I appreciate it.
Thank you for your
Thank you so
attention.
much. Thank you. We'll see you soon. Thanks everyone for joining.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.